everybody, and welcome to this exclusive Team HBXL broadcast for our software users. My name's Jo Mulgrew, and I'm the Managing Director of HBXL, and I'm really pleased to introduce you to Simon Lazarus of the Better Business Group. Well, I do say introduce, but I'm sure some of you watching have watched previous live broadcasts or a recording of one of our chats, because I know Simon has now done quite a few with us, haven't you, Simon?
Yeah, I think actually this is number 9.
Number 9.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Well, I think that demonstrates just how much we value Simon's advice and why Simon is also one of our Team HBXL coaches. And towards the end of today's session, you'll be able to find out about a complimentary session with Simon. He's kindly offering time with HBXL users at the end of this chat. When I say at the end of this chat, you find out more at the end of the chat. Simon won't be staying on the call to take live questions, but you'll find out how to get in touch with him off the back of this. So maybe we should start at the beginning. Simon, can you briefly explain the service that you provide for builders at the Better Business Group?
Sure. I've personally been a mentor to building firms for over 30 years. The Better Business Group was launched in 1995, and at that time we were the first organisation to provide continual monitoring to builders. We're unique in that we work with builders on every quote they do. We speak to their clients, we offer them free help and guidance and background checks on the other builders. We find out why they're winning or losing jobs, who their competitors are, how their price compared. And we also give the builders pre-vetted leads to quote on. Since 1995, we've given out more than £2 billion worth of residential work. We've helped the public avoid more than 4,200 rogue builders. And we've spoken to thousands and thousands of customers. So we know the needs of both the customers and the builders. So we have a unique overview of this industry.
So yeah, so that's quite interesting, because you're seeing both sides, and what builders need to know is in the minds of the homeowner. I think it's really really interesting here. Okay, well, this month's broadcast is called Thriving in Tougher Times and Getting Back to Basics. I don't, we're not trying to be scaremongering here, but obviously everyone's starting to feel it is a little bit more challenging. Obviously, here we are in October 22. Lots happened. There's trends going with the builder, and perhaps some that are slight headwinds. So on the plus side, stating the obvious, COVID regulations are over. Most of you seem like you're still pretty busy. Pricing of materials is stabilized somewhat. Availability is stabilized. It's not all great though. And obviously the economic situation is starting to bite. It's got a bit more challenging for everyone. And we're starting to hear that inquiries are down. Is that about right, would you say, Simon?
Yeah, definitely. I'll come to that in a minute later in a bit more detail.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely starting to happen, I think.
Okay, so we've got this situation where a number of businesses are finding it's quietening off. Some jobs as well, unfortunately, been cancelled or postponed. Labour rates, on the other hand, have been rising because obviously the shortage of labour, and I guess contractors can pick and choose a bit. And the general overhead of a business is rising in the background. So I mean, I'm always in awe of all building firms, and that's why I'm in the industry, and I'm really passionate about it, because running a building company is juggling so many balls, excuse the expression, keeping so many plates in the air at one time, and it's hard enough in stable times, let alone where we find ourselves. And so given those dramatic changes that we're seeing in the marketplace, Simon and I thought, let's have a session where we can go and look over some of the fundamental must-dos for any building business, so that you're not only prepared for 2023 and what could be a bit, the more challenging times ahead, but hopefully come out of it stronger, because there's always opportunity in difficult and challenging markets. So the aim of this session is to provide a back to basics approach, covering topics in previous power hours. So we've got lots to get through. Many of you will have started to apply some of these best practices, but our hope is that you're going to pick up a few more suggestions that you might have missed from previous sessions. And this could make, a really big difference going forwards to your firm. So as I said, we're going to cover a lot of ground as quickly as possible. And because we're going to cover it quickly, if you want to have that session with Simon to discuss your business and any questions on how you could apply it to your business, use that contact information at the end so that you can have that conversation with Simon. And we'll also be giving you links to the power hours from previous events at the end as well, so that you can pick up on some of those in more detail. So, Simon, obviously the Better Business Group's got a great feel for the marketplace as you're working as a mentor with so many SME building firms, and you're seeing how they're getting on. What changes are you seeing for them at the moment?
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Well, things were slowing down before the recent government actions, and to be honest, they've got worse since. I don't think there's any perception of a crisis at the moment, but things are definitely getting harder.
Yeah.
I've got a slide to put up here that will explain what this means in real terms, if you can put that up for me.
Okay, sure, bear with me. I feel like Chris Whitty here with the next slides. And by the way, guys, there's quite a lot of slides to show and demonstrate stuff for Simon. So if I get myself in a bit of a pickle demonstrating those, apologies in advance. But anyway, over to you, Simon, with the stats. So
at the end of September, figures were released for the planning applications between April to June 2022.
Yeah.
This is for district level planning authorities in England. So let me go through this in detail. As you can see, there's plenty of red on this page. So there were 106,800 planning applications received overall, which was actually down 17% from the previous quarter, or the corresponding quarter in the same time last year, 2021. There were 99,900 decided, and of these, 88%, or 87,600 applications were granted. Interestingly, on the next slide, if you have a look just at the bottom right, put that one for me, Joe.
There we go.
So the bottom right there's 4,200 applications under permitted development rights, where in theory they should just go through. That was down 28% on the same time previous year. 3,200 of those were decided, but 50% were refused, which I find amazingly high, really, if they're going up to development. And you need to bear in mind, these figures are for April, May and June of this year, and they predate the significant economic changes we've had since. So in addition to what we're seeing from the government, the Better Business Group gives leads to our members to quote on. Excuse me. The average value this year is around £130,000 plus VAT, and most builders use us for our mentoring services, and historically less than 10% of builders actually take our leads.
Yeah.
This month, however, we've had quite a few members contact us to go back on for leads as their own inquiries are slowing down.
Okay.
And we track all of our leads and our members' inquiries direct through to a conclusion, and we're definitely hearing jobs being postponed or cancelled due to worries about the economy or jobs, etc. The overview is that building costs are still rising, house prices are set to fall, mortgage offers are being revised or withdrawn, and interest rates have shot up. It looks like lots of properties will be coming on the market, but completing a chain will be much more difficult. All this really points to a slowing down, but the market has been crazy busy post-COVID, so I think a certain amount of that was inevitable anyway. There's still a lot of home working, so if people can't move, there'll still be a demand for extensions, garden rooms and loft conversions and so on. Most builders I'm talking to are still busy, as you mentioned earlier, but it seems to me that most of them are working at minimal profit or even a loss because they underestimated the job or the labour cost when they originally costed the work. So there also seems to be a general overrun on planned timescales. That's due to material shortages, but also actually increasingly due to slacking of effort by staff and subbies because they can so easily get another job in the current climate. We're seeing an increasing number of cheap quotes out there from desperate builders who need cash flow to stay afloat. One of my builders quoted £76,000 on a job last week, and the client got a quote for 36,000 quid. Wow. Now, obviously, these jobs obviously can't be finished for the prices being quoted. These people are just desperate to get a bit of cash flow going to keep the ship afloat, to be honest with you. So these problem builders that are quoting cheap, they're extremely good at the presentation and the sales side of the business. They're obviously not looking to build a business or get a second job from anyone. So they've got to be better than average to continually get work. And you have to bear in mind all the time that nobody will pay more for you if you look and sound the same as the cheaper builder. So bearing all this in mind, I think building for profit will be increasingly problematic going forward. Property prices set to fall. Major financiers of this market are pulling out of the market altogether. But building for residential customers looking to improve their home will continue. Good builders in every recession, I've been through quite a few of them now, are always busy. So your job here is to up your game and be one of those builders that are busy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for the roundup, very comprehensive roundup, Simon, on that. So I'm sure that as the marketplace moves, then individual building companies are going to find it different in different geography, and we're already seeing that things are quietening off. But also for different types of work, there's it's slightly different. So yeah, if this doesn't exactly apply to you right now, except that I guess in some affluent areas, some of the work is carrying on. Almost regardless, but in other areas of the country where it's budgets are perhaps a bit tighter, then maybe you may be more impacted. So what would the builder's starting point then be, Simon, for changing up their business approach? I guess there's lots they could be doing.
Well, the main thing is to resist the temptation to keep their diary full at any cost.
Yeah.
Stop going after low paid work. You need to understand your marketplace, you need to understand your competitors, and you need to understand why you are truly winning or losing jobs now. And you need to look at the whole of the market, not just your immediate bubble of the work you're doing and the circle of recommendations you get from that similar sort of a client. And to go forward and be successful, you've got to be prepared to be selective in the jobs you quote for and give 110% effort to winning those individual jobs. Okay.
Sound advice there. So in our previous session in July, we discussed how to focus your business by selecting only the good, inverted commas, clients. And by that, I guess we're meaning not the homeowners looking for the cheapest quotes that they can to get their hands on. So I think what we were saying at that point, recapping, was asking builders to weigh up the following before quoting on a job. Where did the lead come from? Was it a checker trade or similar? Got to be careful there with the brand usage. Was it that kind of inquiry where they're they're advertised quite a lot online, and there's a database of clients and small projects, and obviously those small projects are going out to literally tens and tens of builders in your locale. So I guess it's good to consider where that inquiry came from, how many quotes they're getting. I think you've said in the past, if it's numerous, and that's likely, especially if it's from those website type generator of inquiries, run away because they're only going to be after budget, aren't they? A cheap job, I mean. And then obviously that leads into what is the client's budget? Is it realistic? Have they got the funds, the finance to do it? Clearly, what is the nature of a job? Does it suit your business and your experience? Do they have a detailed job specification? Because I guess otherwise it's going to be very, very speculative at that time. So until they've got more information, I guess, stay clear. Or go and invite the client at any rate to go and find out a bit more and put a bit more flesh on the bones of that project. So that's a really edited version of the July talk, and I'm probably quoting Simon almost verbatim there. So Simon, you've worked with literally thousands of homeowners on the other side. So obviously you mentor the builders, but you are talking to and your team are talking to thousands of homeowners. So who our viewers should be pitching to.
Yeah, I think the main thing to remember is you need to avoid working for anybody or quoting anybody that's building for profit. Mm-hmm. Working from homeowners looking to improve their living conditions, that's the way to go, because it's an emotional purchase. It's not a business decision. They're not looking to make money out of you. Anybody that's looking to make money out of you wants you to have a smaller slice of the pie. And there are plenty of people in that marketplace. Don't enter it. Yeah. These are probably professionals, the individual homeowners. They're probably professionals who understand project management, admin processes, contracts. They pride themselves on attention to detail. They expect a high level of customer service. They've got high standards when it comes to building work. But in return, if they give you the job, they will pay appropriately. The chances are these sort of clients, they've been led a merry dance in the past. They went with somebody cheap, had a disaster. This time round, they're far more interested in getting a firm they can trust than a cheap one. Those are the people you need to be targeting.
Yeah, well, that's certainly my experience of, on a personal level. You don't want to repeat that exercise at all. Okay, so we've identified our ideal client then, haven't we? And I guess it's all about then differentiating ourselves from our competitors and for the customers that we do want to go after. And we need, in order to do that, we've got to create the right impression to attract that profitable customer. So what would you suggest, Simon, is needed to, attract the attention of that target market? What would you say?
Well, on a practical level, you need to find ways to shout about your credentials and stand out from the crowd. It's all about differentiating yourself from these other guys.
Yeah.
The first thing is choose your business name carefully. I've had builders that have lost jobs because they had carpentry or joinery in their name, which was off-putting to a customer wanting a major structural job like a double-story extension. Of course, if you can do that sort of structural work, you can do carpentry, or you've got guys that can do it for you. That's a given. But you need to be recognised for the biggest jobs you do. So lose anything in your name that suggests you're just a tradesman. You also need a professional looking identity for your business, a simple, clean logo, have a website, and a big bugbear of mine, actually, use your domain name for the email. So I don't think it's professional to have simon@hotmail.co, at gmail.com, yahoo.co.uk, simon@jonesbuildersanddesign.co.uk is a much more professional profile.
Yeah,
it sounds like you're running a proper business here, not a hobby. Okay. You also want an email signature. That's the bit that goes on the bottom of the email that you send with your company registration, maybe a logo, your contact details, and so on. Show your insurance details and your affiliations on your website and on every quote you do to show that you've got it. The cheap guys don't have that. This is an important one, actually, which most builders totally disregard, which is maintain a good credit record. You need to show you've got retained profit and that there's worth in your business. People don't want to trust their life savings to you. If they think you're not going to be in business to finish a job, we're going to be out of business and not be able to put anything right if a problem arises in a couple of years. And this is a major way we get our builders work. About 94% of the searches we currently do on the cheaper builders are seriously, seriously bad. And that's how we persuade the clients to use our builders in preference. Also, you need a gallery of photos, and these are not stock photos that most people have on their websites. You want before, during, and after pictures of the same job, and show someone or something that's identifiable in the photo that is your business. Your T-shirts, your photos, your van signs, whatever it might be, sideboards. If you need to go back to past customers to get these sort of photographs, obviously you need to ask for permission to publish them. Also include endorsements and reviews on your website. One thing some of my more upmarket builders do is they take video time lapses of the jobs. They have a camera on the sides and they take time lapse pictures every hour or so. And then they put that together to a video which they can present to the client at the end of the job or put up on the website with their permission. I think that's very eye-catching. It's certainly a good differentiator. Keep your website up to date. I'm seeing loads of websites that haven't been updated 5, even 10 years ago, totally out of date. The format's totally out of date. If you keep updating your website, it will help improve your ranking on Google and so on. They like to see that you're still current and changing things. You also need a Facebook page, and on that, demonstrate your professionalism. Show them it's not a hobby business. Keep it up to date as well. You don't want to think you've gone out of business. Share your observations on new legislation, how you manage your health and safety. Share your thinking on new products, materials, building methods. Tell them about the software you use. Comment on changes in planning laws, for instance. Also, join local Facebook groups. Homeowners are always seeking out building firms on local community pages. Taking that in a parish magazine or your local postcode magazine. They're typically good at providing decent leads, and also they're relatively cheap to go into. Those are quite a few of the things I think the guys can do. Yeah.
Concur with all of those. Good advice, and again summarised from one of our previous power hours. So we've got some good tips there that are often overlooked. So rattling on then through our high-speed back to basics run through. So our builder has attracted the eye of a homeowner, and they've decided, yeah, I'm happy to go after this job, but they're up against some of the chances that are probably cheaper that you've mentioned. The ones that are extremely good at the presentation side and the sales side of their business, which, let's face it, we often don't go into our relevant and respective industries to be salespeople, but let's face it, we all need to do it. But so there's these chances that are very good on the presentation and sales side, and they can walk the walk. do you have any suggestions as how our builder can compete with them? Because I'm sure that's a challenge.
It is a challenge, and these guys are really good at that side of the business. To be honest, that's where their skills lie, isn't it? They don't do a good job. The clients engage them. So there's lots of little things you can do that add up to a much better picture of winning the work. There's no golden bullets here, okay? Often, actually, as well, it's not just a cowboy you'll be up against. If you're on one of 3 builders recommended by an architect, for instance, you'll be competing against similar businesses to yourself. There's a good chance that most of those quotes will show similar costs on that type of job, meaning there's very little for the customer to choose between. So how you come across is crucial, and you can be kicked off for the most stupid and ridiculous of reasons, actually. People are just looking for a differentiator and a reason to get their shortlist down for 8, 10, even 15 builders, down to 2 or 3 for a shortlist. Okay. So the first thing I think is you need to show confidence. You need to sound professional. You also need to be punctual. That's a big hate for customers when you don't turn up, when you say you're going to turn up, they're sitting around waiting, thinking, is he coming or not? Turn up in smart, casual clothes, not your site clothes covered in mud, okay? Ensure your vehicle is clean, look professional like this, and also be a good listener, take lots of notes, look at the plans carefully, pick up any omissions or errors that other builders might miss. Consider also other ways of arriving at a good solution for the client that could either save them money or give them a better outcome, maybe changing the layout slightly. Architects are very good at drawing pictures, but not so good on the day-to-day basics when it comes to house building. Produce a professional looking quote. Big plug for you. Use HBXLcouk Estimator Express ideally. I'm a big fan of that, as you well know from previous webinars. That's why I'm here. Make sure there are no spelling errors. You know, it amazes me the number of errors I see on quotes, and it's so simple to do a spell check nowadays. Get the quote back to them fast, which you can do with the proper software. Explain how you'll work as well, where you'll store the materials, if you can have a portal, where that's going to go, how you'll keep the site tidy. Discuss health and safety procedures. People are quite keen on that nowadays, and health and safety are very keen on inspecting the sites as well, so you need to do this. Explain the building regs process. People are very much in the dark about this. The architects don't talk about it at all. And see if they need a party wall agreement, talk through what needs to be done and the timetables for that. I've got a couple of jobs at the moment that have been held up because the clients didn't engage in the party wall system early enough. You need to do it a couple of months before you are thinking of starting a job. Also inform the customer that you will put a payment plan in writing. You don't give it to them at this stage or discuss it with them now, but they need to know that they'll have it in advance before you start the work. As I said, show your insurances. Enclose your Better Business Group rating certificate and the other point of sale material we give you. And if you've got any other qualifications or accreditations, you show that as well. And also a big one that most builders don't is follow up on the quote. I very often see at the bottom of the letter, you know, hope this meets your requirements. Please give me a ring and I won't look forward to hearing from you. Well, that's no good. Don't be complacent here. Tell them, you know, ring me if you've got any questions. But in any event, I'll give you a ring next Tuesday just to answer any queries you might have. When you then phone on Tuesday, you're showing that you're professional, reliable, you're doing what you say you're doing, and you're keen on the job. So if you do all these sorts of things, the customer will feel much more confident in trusting you with their life savings. That's what we're talking about here. So it's not just about the quote you do, it's the whole package they're seeing about you and the whole package they're seeing about your competitors. And it's a difference between you that will tip you over the line.
Okay, so a lot to kind of assimilate there. I don't know if any of you were taking notes there, but I was kind of I was busy scribbling myself. If you saw me looking down there, I was just thinking I needed to write a few things down on that, because I think there's some advice sheets I think we could do, Simon, on each of these areas. Anywho, so yeah, some excellent advice there. One more little thing from my side is about asking permission for taking photos within the home. You know, just a courtesy. Do you mind if I take photos? Don't just walk into someone's bedroom or bathroom and start taking photos without their go ahead. That's quite off-putting, and that genuinely happens. And we talked about this, Simon, before. You know, it's just not appropriate. You've got to ask. So before moving on, then we've obviously got the next step, which is quoting for the work, and we're often told by our builders that, if, you know, I put the price in, and then I'm not getting at the job, and it's looking like you know, they might be up against these cheaper builders, and as we've been talking about, it's looking like things are going to get a bit harder, and therefore there might be cheaper price competition. I know we're going to be talking in a minute about profit and overheads, but there's obviously the true cost of the job in the first place, isn't there? There's the kind of it's how would you convince a builder to be thinking about increasing his prices today in this marketplace? And I guess we've got to spend a bit of time, have we, on discussing pricing, markup, margins, and they're all interlinked, I realise, but
yeah, there's a lot to cover there. Fundamentally, I can't see any point in running a building firm if you're doing it purely to pay staff wages, keep your suppliers happy, keep everybody in work, however small the profit. It's absolutely pointless. So I have a quick test that will establish whether you're calculating your profits correctly. And you need to ask yourself 6 questions. I think we've got a slide for this, Jo.
We do. There we go.
Okay, so are you on the tools yourself? Do you work from home? Does a family member help with the paperwork? Does the business have cash flow problems? Do your accounts show a loss or only a very small profit? And are you unable to afford paying into your pension? And if you answered yes to any of those 6 tests, you're almost certainly undercharging, and your profits are much smaller than you deserve. In reality, what's happening is you are subsidizing your customers by keeping your overheads low and passing those cost savings straight onto your customer. And I suspect, Jo, that a lot of the viewers today are doing exactly that. That's my experience.
It's easily done.
So working like this means you're not running a profitable business. You're basically working for a wage. Now, builders set up in business to be independent, to have a secure future, whereas in reality, many are working absolutely insane hours a week. They're earning little more than if they're employed themselves, but they've got the added stress of running a business as well. Mm-hmm. So if you're on the tools, you've got to remember that this is just not a sustainable business model. You can earn well only as long as you're relatively young, you're fit, you're healthy. But the building industry, as we all know, takes its toll physically, resulting in bad backs, knees, shoulders, heart problems. And you've got to plan now for the inevitable when you will have to pay someone else to do the hard graft. Now, when that happens, you'll stop becoming a revenue producer. You'll be a cost to the business. That means you need to charge more. And if you accept that now, then you need to start that transition now. You need to increase your prices straight away to give yourself the funds to be able to afford the future changes that you'll be forced to make, whether you like it or not.
So I would say that sounds great in theory, but how does our builder listening today even begin to understand the kind of figure that they should be charging?
Okay, well, in our Price and Profit Masterclass webinar, I talked about my 4 golden rules for pricing jobs. And if anybody hasn't seen that webinar, I strongly suggest you do. We had record numbers of viewers and the feedback was overwhelmingly positive. I will be going over some of that in a minute. If you put this next slide up, Jo.
Yeah, sure. There we go.
Okay, so here's my 4 golden rules for pricing and profit. First one is charge more. You definitely can and you should. Number 2, decide on your markup percentage and make sure you calculate it correctly. Third one is understand your business overhead, and you need to allow for it when calculating your profits. And number 4, every job has a value and you should price that accordingly. So if you can have the next slide, Jo.
I'm definitely Chris Whitty now.
Okay.
Well, you're Chris Whitty and I'm your presenter.
Thank you very much. I don't know how to take that. Okay. So the COVID numbers this week. Okay, so let's start with my golden rule number 1 then. Charge more. You can and you should. Now, firstly, you've got to believe that there are decent customers out there that are prepared to pay the right price and that it is possible to charge more. And every builder I've met, and it's tens of thousands of them, have told me that they're middle priced. That means that there's always somebody that's been cheaper than you, and there are always builders that are more expensive than you. Sorry, I've just, bear with me a sec. So any job you've done, they could have used somebody cheaper. They paid more for you for the privilege. Yeah. But there are also similar builders that would charge more for the same job you're doing. So you definitely can charge more and you should be doing it.
Yeah.
Okay. And you can't chase these cheap builders. No matter how low you go, there will always be somebody quoting half your cost or prepared to quote half your cost. It's pointless even trying to compete with those guys. So rather than looking down at these cheap guys, you need to look up at the expensive builder, the guy that's in an office, they're office-based tools, they're not on the tools themselves, they've got admin staff, they've got shiny vans, they've got nice tools, they've got fully employed tradesmen and so on. Look at those expensive guys in your area. What do I have to do to emulate them? The chances are, if you're working on the tools yourself currently, you're doing a better, more consistent job. These bigger companies have a variety of subcontractors and the quality varies between them. So what is it this expensive guy is doing that enables him to charge the premium that you're not doing? And the answer is these guys are going after and they're winning better jobs from better clients.
Okay, so how do you get into the right mindset then to charge more? What processes do you have to go through?
Well, I suppose you need to go back and remember what you wanted at the outset when you started this business, or maybe you took over a business. If it was to keep yourself occupied just to earn a wage, then this webinar is probably not for you, in all honesty. But I'm guessing that anybody watching this wanted a better life, they wanted more free time, they wanted a more comfortable living. And ultimately, if you're on the tools, you want to get off the tools and have somebody else doing the hard work on a cold, damp morning. So as the owner of a building firm, you should be building an asset, whether it's to pass on, sell or close down with a nice nest egg at the end of it. And to do that, you need to move up to the next level. And I suppose that's really what we're talking about here today. The trouble is many builders are scared to take the risk. They're scared of failure. They're scared of going backwards. And the business therefore settles at a level that keeps the diary full. It keeps everybody earning a good wage. So basically they keep the status quo. They stay where they are. But with some help and guidance, HBXL's construction and software tools, our mentoring service, it is absolutely possible to build a more successful and profitable business. Joe and I both know this because we do it every day of the week. That's what we're in business to do. So it's important to have faith in your skills and what value you can add for the client. So my argument here is think about the last few jobs you did. Think about what you charged. Who got the better deal here? You vastly improved their property. Their quid's in. And if you take a long, cold look, they probably, at the end of the day, did better out of it than you did. And my view is it should be more even-handed. Most people don't really want to move, and I've just done it. It's taken me 18 months to finally get the move through. It's a complete nightmare and it cost a fortune. Most people just want more space, and there's a price for them to pay to get that. So I think you should consider the fact you work long hours and you need to get a return on the effort that you're putting into a business. You can only do so much work in a year. Every job, therefore, counts. You need to fill the diary with not low margin jobs. If you fill the diary with low margin jobs, it's a really hard struggle to make a living and to keep your subbies loyal. Life is really so much easier when you price this job correctly. You can do less jobs, you can earn more money, you can have more family time, you can pay your guys a bit more so that they're always there when you need them, and you can build up some cash to buy equipment or to fund your own development and so on. The reality is that most builders watching this are definitely not charging what they're worth. And if they're really honest, most of them know it themselves anyway. I've been mentoring builders for 30 years, as I said, and I've met less than probably a dozen builders that truly charge what they're worth. So this is all achievable here.
Okay. So there's some uncomfortable statements in there. I'm sure you're maybe feeling it a little bit. You're only watching this. It's obviously a bit of tough love here, and we all need to hear this when running businesses. So on behalf of the builders watching, probably thinking, well, most of my work comes in from recommendations. My situation is different. What would you say, Simon?
Okay, well, I think if you're quoting on a recommendation and you're charging correctly, you should be winning no more than 5 out of 10 of the quotes you do. If it's a cold inquiry from one of the rating websites, you'll win 1 out of 10, or even as low as 1 out of 20 if you're pricing accurately, because the quality of the lead is so poor and they're getting so many people to quote for that particular job. And I know this because before we mentor a builder, the Better Business Group surveys their past customers and we ask the clients why they chose that builder. And of the last 20 builders that I've taken on in 2022, most work came from recommendations. And unbelievably, 65% of the clients told us they chose the builder because he was recommended and he was cheap. and they all graded the quality of the work that builder did for them as excellent. So before they call you in, they know the quality of work is brilliant and that you're undercharging. And this is what we call the recommendation rut. We discussed it in several webinars before. It's really very common. You move from recommend to recommend, and the clients are really happy with your work, and they tell their friend what they paid you 2 years ago. So over time, builders that work primarily on recommendations are routinely charging 20% less than their worth.
Wow.
And we know that's the case because the leads we give builders are baggage free. They don't have no preconceptions of your previous price. And Better Business Group members, on average, are able to charge around 20% more than they did previously when they quote on the leads we give them.
Okay.
Now, when you increase your price, the customer always tells you they've had a cheaper quote. And the reality is they want to use you. You know, can you please match the cheaper guy? Now, Better Business Group builders aren't cheap, but only about 7% of customers tell us they didn't use our builders because they were too expensive. And interestingly, still around 3% of clients tell us they ruled out a builder because he was too cheap and they didn't think he could do the job correctly for the money that they were charging. But in every one of those cases, though, they told the builder that he was expensive. So they know he's too cheap, but they tell the builders he's too expensive. So when the builder then next quotes a similar job, he's tempted to price the job even cheaper because he didn't get the first one. So my message is, for the wrong customer, price is everything. When they don't use you, they always tell you it's because you're too expensive. And certainly anyone who's had a problem with a cheap builder last time, they won't make that same mistake again. So for the right customer, the price is a secondary consideration. They will pay more for a hassle-free experience and peace of mind. And to be successful, to have a successful business, you have to work for the right customers. In reality, the main reason that clients go elsewhere is you haven't sold yourself properly. Often when you lose the job, they told you're expensive, but the other builder was just more professional, more business-like, and they actually felt more comfortable using them and paying a premium for their services, thinking that they're going to have a better outcome at the end. So you just haven't given them enough reasons to use you and to pay more for you in reality. Okay. I think we've got another slide here.
We do. Right. Okay. Bear with me, guys.
Okay. So these are the true 6 reasons I find that builders lose work. The first one is it took too long to do the quote.
Yeah.
The second one was the quote wasn't detailed enough. Those two are easy to overcome with HBXL software, which a lot of you are using. Next one is you didn't sound or look professional enough, which is really important in the client's eyes. This is your first opportunity to sell yourself when they see you. Also, another big bugbear, you failed to take proper notes and you missed stuff. Or actually, you quote for stuff they didn't ask you to quote for. That also comes up quite regularly. Another big one that builders don't often take credit for, you must, these customers will check you out if you've got a bad credit history or if you've got bad financials. But what I mean by that is your outstanding county court judgments, you're in and out of business, you've had lots of previous companies, you're losing money or you're showing very little profit. These are all bad signs for clients that know what they're doing. At the end of the day, they're entrusting their life savings to you.
Yeah.
And another one, which we've done probably a major webinar on its own on, is overquoting on PC sums, but they don't give you a proper second fixed spec. How do you deal with that in the way you quote? I won't go through that today. That's one either to look over our previous webinar, or one we can go through again in a bit more detail in a future one, I think. But those are the 6 true reasons I find that builders lose work, not what they think themselves.
Yes, I guess it's clients default to the whole price question just to get you out of their hair almost.
Yeah.
Move on, but it's an easy and non-offensive way of saying no, you didn't impress me, goodbye. Okay, so thanks for that. Lots to consider. So that was our golden rule number 1. So charge more, you can and you should. So go forth and be positive about that. And if you need to talk to Simon a bit more about that, again, remember he's available for some mentoring sessions, and your first session is free with Simon. So on to golden rule number 2. So this is all about deciding your markup and calculating it properly. Now, obviously, I come into contact with plenty of very clever builders. They know construction inside and out, but understanding what percentage markup to put on jobs, they do find a challenge. And our estimating software is asking for that kind of information about your profit margin and overheads. So we wanted to have a bit of a focus on that, and it is actually one of the trickier sums to work on. So we're going to share another slide here. So I'm looking at my second screen here, so we can get that up on screen for you. So we're on point 2, golden rule number 2. Over to you, Simon.
Okay, decide on your markup percentage and calculate it correctly. This is quite a difficult one, and
sorry, apologies, guys.
Okay. Don't worry, we've got lots of slides to get through.
I was just hurrying you along, Simon. Come on, we need to get to the good stuff.
Okay, well, quite the contrary to that, I'm going to do this step by step from first principles, because this is something I'm really come across an awful lot, and builders still keep asking me about this, even when I've been over it several times with them.
Yeah,
it's quite difficult to get a grasp on. So many builders watching this will know this, they'll be putting it into practice. If that's the case, keep listening, because there's probably lots of stuff later that you're probably not doing. Often I see builders still doing square meterage calculation to work out the price. I don't think that's nearly accurate enough in this current day and age. I know you agree with that with me, Jo.
I do, absolutely.
It's really important to cost your jobs individually to make sure that you make good money. So most builders do something similar to this when they calculate the price of the job. Can I have the next slide up, Jo?
Yeah, there we go.
So this is what we call the LPM and markup percentage approach. So LPM markup, L is for labour, P is for plant, M is for materials, and then you have your markup percentage, and that gives your quote value. Labour, plant, materials, add your markup, gives your quote total. Okay, next slide, Jo. Okay, so what I want to do, let's take an easy to calculate project, just random figures here. Labour 30,000, plant 10,000, materials 60,000. So your cost for the job is £100,000. Let's do an easy calculation. Just say you want to make 10% profits. So this is what a lot of builders do. If you show us the next slide, Jo. Okay, 10% markup, 10% of £100,000 is £10,000. £100,000 plus £10,000 gives you a quote value of £110,000. Unfortunately, calculating profit this way makes you a lot less money than you thought. Let's have a look at the next slide. Surprisingly, making £10,000 profit on a £110,000 job doesn't give you a profit of 10%, it gives you a profit of 9%. And you're thinking, well, how can that possibly be? Surely if you add, you make 10% profit. But this is not the correct way to calculate profit. The proper way is actually a bit more complicated, which we'll show you on the next slide. Okay, gross profit percentage is calculated as the profit times 100, and then you divide that figure by the sales price. So in the previous example, that would be £10,000 times 100, which is £1 million. Divide that by the quote value, which is £110,000, which actually equals only 9.09%, or 9% if we round it. So that is the correct calculation.
That's the incorrect one. So
I beg your pardon.
Let's look at the right way, because this was a head scratch, isn't it? It's a bit of a head scratch, this one. Okay,
so profit times 100 divided by the sales price. To get 10% gross profit margin, you actually need to add on 11.1% to your cost price. Now, 11.1% of £100,000 is £11,100 markup. So your £100,000 costs plus your £11,100 gives you a new quote value of £111,100. £111,100. So let's now check the gross profit calculation for that one.
So is that on the next slide? Sorry.
Yeah. Profit times 100. No, you think you were on the right one. Sorry, we jumped.
Yeah. We've got lots of slides, guys. Sorry about this. I'm making a hash of this.
Don't worry, they're all there to be looked at when you review it. So profit times 100, and then divide by that by the sales price. So 110,100 times 100 is £1,110,000. Divide that by £111,100. That gives you a 9.99% profit, rounding to 10%. So you've now made £1,100 more with the 11.1% calculation than you did with the 10% calculation. So great news, that's already paid you back for the time you spent watching this presentation and listening to us.
Yes, okay. So what you're doing there is you're dividing by the sales value to get this actual profit margin rather than the original cost of the job, which was the 100,000.
Yes.
And that is giving us this actual margin of just shy of 10%. Okay, so I think that's an interesting one. I mean, obviously, everyone will have done some form of maths at school, but you have to think, right, okay. So feel free, guys, to download this document to go through that, or play this back to understand it. Okay, so thanks for going through that, Simon. That's like almost like a profit calculation 101 and step by step. So if you want to, watch this again, do so. So then, Simon, our golden rule, or rather your golden rule, number 3. So understanding your business overhead and allowing for it in the profit calculation. So what would you say on this tip then? Or actually, there's one thing I wanted to say. Builders are often telling us that they're adding 15 to 20%, and they think that should give them, the profit margin that they need, but that's including the overheads of their business. So are they going to make enough by just adding 15-20% onto the job? Is that going to be sufficient? And if not, why not? Can you explain?
Okay, well, unfortunately, no, it won't. And I'll show that in the next few slides. So let's put my next slide up. You've got that there. Okay, so what you need to remember is if you have no work on at all, the business still has costs.
Yeah.
Your wages, your van, your petrol, your liability insurance, any loan repayments, accountancy fees, replacing tools and equipment, all this sort of stuff. You need to work out a whole year's costs for these, divide it by 48 to get a weekly overhead, and allocate those to the cost of the job. And you're thinking Simon's maths, as usual, is always off kilter.
Yeah, why 48?
And not 52. Well, you divide it by 48 because no builder has 52 solid revenue producing weeks in a year.
Yeah,
so you account for that up front. Okay, we're trying to cover the basis here and make sure you're profitable. So if a job takes 6 months, you need to add in half of the annual costs that you've got. You then put your markup on top of all of that to get your quote figure. Now, HBXL, I know that your website has a link to get a free download of a sales and overhead spreadsheet template. A lot of the builders have done that, downloaded it and worked it out. If you haven't done that, I really strongly advise you to do that so you can actually quantify what your overheads are. I can tell you now, a typical building business will have overheads around 15 to 18% of turnover. We're going to probably use the lower figure in all these calculations we show you today. So what I want to do...
I'm just thinking, so I'm just interrupting you there, Simon. So that's the key challenge, isn't it? If your overheads, that's everything that's not going on site, you've got overheads of around 15%, you're going to straight away, if you just plonked a 15% profit margin on, it's all gone just by covering your overheads, your van, your insurances, your mobile, your internet, etc. So you're not making a penny. And if anything goes wrong then...
Well, that's really right. That's the point I was going to make. That assumes that the job runs perfectly and it runs to timescale, which we all know that never ever happens.
Yeah.
So you're in for a loss before you start, aren't you?
Yeah. Okay. So onwards, overheads, and I know you're going to say next slide.
Okay. So let's rerun the profit calculation that we did originally to include the extra overhead costs. So here's our original costing example: labour 30,000, plant 10,000, materials 60,000, gives a total job cost of 100,000, 10% markup. 10% of 100,000 is 10,000. That gives you a quote value of £110,000. Now, 15% of the selling price, sorry, next slide. Okay, 15% of the selling price of £110,000 equals £16,500. If we add this in, then labour, plant, materials and the overheads now equals £116,500, not £100,000. But our quote value that we calculated originally was £110,000. So our costs now are £6,500 more than we're getting in. So that's resulting in a net loss of £6,500. So as we said, best case scenario, you work a few months on site, and if the job runs perfectly, you lose £6,500. And this is why a lot of builders are struggling with cash flow. They just haven't allowed the business overhead, which, as we can see here, is really significant.
Yeah.
So we're calculating the 15% of the 15% of the sales figure as overheads.
Okay.
We've got this circular argument. To get to the sales figure, we have to add the business overhead into our costs, not the sales figure. So how do we do that?
Okay.
So the formula to calculate that is on our next slide. Okay. Overhead percentage times, and importantly in brackets, 100 plus the markup percentage divided by 100. So let's have the next slide up, Joe. So let's use our previous example. We've got a markup of 10%. We've calculated our overheads at 15% of turnover. 15 times, in brackets, 100 plus 10 divided by 100 equals 16.5%. You have to do this calculation very carefully and take note of the bracket. It is not 15 times 100, which is 1500, plus 10, which is 1510, divided by 100, which gives 15.1%. The correct calculation is 100 plus 10, which equals 110, times 15, which equals 1650. 1650 divided by 100 gives 16.5%. So if your business overheads work out at 15% of turnover, you're marking up by 10%, you actually need to allow 16.5% of turnover in your calculations. Okay, on 20% markup with 15% overheads, the actual calculation is 15 times 100 plus 20 divided by 100, which makes 18%. Sorry for all the maths here. I know it's quite complicated. It took me ages to work it all out myself, to be honest with you. Okay, so let's go on to the next slide. We're going to add on our original markup of 10% and allow for the business overhead of 15%. So we know now that we need to add 16.5% to our costs to end up with the equivalent of 15% of sales value. Labour, plant and materials equals £100,000. 16.5% of £100,000 is £16,500. Labour, plant, materials and the overheads, therefore now is £116,500. 10% markup on costs is 116,500 divided by 10. That equals £11,650. 116,500 plus the £11,650 gives you a quote value now of £128,150. Excuse me. So we can go on to the next slide, Joe.
Okay.
Okay, let's do the gross profit calculation now. Your profit is 11,650 times 100 divided by the quote value of 128,150 gives you the 9% profit that you're making. So you're now making £11,650 on a sale value of £128,150. So the gross profit we've calculated as before is 9%. So you're now making money after allowing for the overheads, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay. But what happens if you decide to get a part-time bookkeeper for £12,000 a year, or you have a bad debt of £12,000? Well, now we're really working hard for months. We've turned over £128,150 and we're losing £365. So this is why you've got to build a proper profit margin in for the business, and 10% is nowhere near enough.
Okay. So hopefully, guys, you got that. But I think what is safe to say is you always need to be adding an overhead. Even if you're not using exactly Simon's maths there, you have to allow an overhead on top of your job costs. So you've got your basic job costs, your materials, labour, your plant, your subcontract, your sundry. You then need to allow an absolute minimum of 15% on your overhead, and on top of which you then need to add and calculate your profit properly on top of that. So only then will you end up with an appropriate profit at the end of the job. And as your circumstances change, and it's why it's really important to keep on top of your overheads to understand any decision that you're making and how much that it actually impacts your day-to-day, and how much you need to add on to your project. Because, you know, you get a new van and as you said, Simon, you get someone to help you do the admin or what have you, suddenly your overhead has become more significant again. And so I think that's the key takeaway from that. You must charge an overhead and then apply your profit on top of that. So this is an interesting one then. we all hopefully are understanding now we need to get the proper calculations done to achieve an appropriate, not use that word, profit figure. You know, your business depends on it. And some good news is, I would say, the Estimator Express has got inbuilt tools to do this. You plug in the overhead figure and you plug in the profit margin. So, you know, pay note when you're filling in those fields within the software. But this next slide then, every job has a value and you should price this accordingly. So I'm interested in this one, Simon, because people say, of course a job's got a value. I've just costed it up, I've added my overhead and I've added my profit margin. What do you mean by quoting the true value of the project? And yeah, I'm intrigued. I know that you're going to talk around some financial arguments of this. And in fairness, I have seen this before, but I'm always surprised when I hear it again, and how big a difference a few percentage points can make and impact your profit. Hopefully I've teed this up enough that you'll be intrigued as to what Simon is going to say next, but I will say next slide.
Okay, so my golden rule 4, every job has a value and you should price accordingly. And this is exactly what it says on the tin. Most builders looking to make more money will pack an extra job or two in during the year. These are the figures in green. So if you do that, turnover is now up 128 to £128,150 if your turnover goes up 10%. You made £12,815 profit, up by £1,165, and your gross profit percentage is unchanged at the original 9%. But let's now have a look at the figures in blue. This is what we get if you keep the turnover the same, but you've increased your markup an extra 10%. So your markup has gone from 10 to 20%. For no more work, you've now made £23,300 profit. Excuse me. That's an extra £11,650. And your overall profit has gone up to just under 17%. And just think what a difference that would make if you had an extra £11,650 in the bank today. I'd like it, I'm sure you would as well. So let's extend this a bit further. If we go on to the next slide. Okay, this chart shows turnover up 10 and 20% compared to the markup increased by 10 and 20%. On the right-hand dark blue column, we've now put a 30% markup on all our costs, including the general overhead of the business. So on a turnover of £116,500, we've made £34,950 profit, which is a gross margin of 23%. And this is really where you should be aiming to be. Unfortunately, again, the true situation is actually even more complicated than this, because by pricing this way, you're ensuring that the business makes money, but are you really charging what the job is worth? So we can have a look at the next slide, Jo.
Yeah.
Okay, are you subsidising the customer? So remember what I said earlier, if you work from home or a family member helps with the paperwork or you're on the tools, then you are subsidising the business by keeping your overheads low. By adding your profit percentage on a low cost base, you're passing these cost savings straight on to the customer. But you should be keeping these differences in price to yourself as profit. So when you expand and improve the business, your overheads will inevitably increase. And as the business grows and you come off the tools, you'll have staff and office costs. As you now manage the jobs, your cost to the business, you're not revenue producing, you have to pay somebody else to do the site work in your place, which costs money. So in order to have the money to spend out to do this, you have to charge that extra money now. And the way to do this is to recalculate your business overheads. So you look at the business you want to be in a few years' time, such as we said, coming off the tools yourself, paying yourself a regular income, putting money aside for your pension, renting an office, having one or more paid office employees with pensions themselves, having a site foreman, having an extra van, new plant, tools, machinery, having money in the bank as a buffer for quieter times. So once you've got your wish list, you then have to revisit the original overhead calculation sheet that you worked out, add all these extra costs in, divide it by 48 to work out your weekly allocation of these higher costs. You then divide your turnover by the total of these costs to get you the business overhead percentage. and you have to use this higher percentage in your next quote. I know all this sounds like a pipe dream, and these percentage markups and everything seem really high to most builders. But remember, more established builders have these higher overheads that we're talking about already. So when they add their 20 or 30% markup on, and plenty of them do, they are far, far more expensive than you. They are still in business. They're still winning work. So this can be done. It's definitely achievable. And you need to quote today as if you are already where you want to be. You need to quote like the bigger players. You need to charge what you're truly worth and the value of the work you're doing. So can we have the next slide, Joe?
I think that's fascinating, Simon, actually, before we start talking about this slide.
Okay.
And I promise I won't interrupt you on this slide, but I think thinking as if you already have those overheads is an interesting thing to do, because then you understand the additional costs that you need to have to make, you know, the dream work. And as you say, everybody else, the bigger firms, the quality firms around you are already doing that. They've already got those costs. So it's enabling you to transition to the point where you can do it. So even if you don't have the administrator, and even if you don't have the new laptop that you need, and you know you don't have the website that you know would bring you the new work, if you price as if you were, and I know it's careful, you have to show that you are, you know, worth the higher price. But if you price as if you are, then you're capturing that and enable you to invest in it, so that you're not going out on too much of a limb when you come to actually do it, and it helps you transition into the position where you're able to do it.
This is the big problem of most builders I see. They're stuck in this rut. They work really hard. They do really good jobs. They're never able to transition to the next level because they're never charging the premium that will enable them to do it.
Yeah.
And the average age of builders I talk to is going up and up and up all the time. And, you know, you have this sort of conversation with people and say, well, blimey, if I had met you 30 years ago, you know, I'd be retired by now and living in abroad, you know. So this is really fundamental. And if you grasp this, it is life transforming. It really is. So hopefully we can help people on that journey. That's what this is all about.
Yeah, and I know you're absolutely passionate about that. So are you charging what the job is worth? So what's this slide about? Explain.
Okay, well, I think what you need to do, bearing in mind what we discussed today, is go back and look at the last 3 jobs you actually did do. Mm-hmm. Add in these extra costs, add in these extra costs that you want to have in the future, and see if by adding those costs retrospectively, you would have made a profit. Look at what you really should have charged, taking account of these extra overheads. If you want a viable business and a successful and profitable future, you don't have any alternative here. You've got to charge the true value of the work you do. And if it was 20% more than you're charging now, just sit back and think, if you'd have charged 20% more for the last 5 years, how much money would you have in the bank today? And that is the difference we're talking about here. As I said just a minute ago, this is life-changing if you work smarter. Other builders are doing it. You can certainly do it. Okay, I mean, I think I've covered the most important issues here. And I certainly appreciate it's been a really quite technical and mathematical webinar. So, as Joe said, copy this down, look at the slides. And also, if you need any further help or advice, feel free to contact me afterwards. More than happy to spend a bit of time going through your business with you and explaining this in a bit more detail.
Yeah, that sounds a good plan. So the contact details are going to be up at the end, guys. And as Simon says, yeah, it has been a bit more of a mathematical webinar this time round. But I think with finances, you know, getting tighter, you know, it's going to come down to these margins and the marginal gains. And as you can see, the difference between those margins, if you get it right, can be really substantial. And I think some builders will have been walking into an ongoing loss with some of these projects without considering their true overhead and applying the margin to that. Okay, so I think we've just about got a couple of minutes just to recap on our golden rules, Simon. So I'm going to bring those up on screen before we start thinking about wrapping up, because I'm sure people are thinking, I've been watching this for ages, but hopefully it's been useful by watching.
Okay, first one, charge more, you can and you should. Second one, decide on your markup percentage and make sure you calculate it correctly. Number 3, the big one I think most of you will need to look at, understand your business overhead and allow for it properly in your profit calculation. And the fourth one, don't just put your margin on your costs. Every job here has a value and you should price it accordingly. So as I said, tomorrow morning, revisit the last 3 jobs you did, assume you're not on the tools, you're sitting in your new rented office with your new secretary helping you with the paperwork, add in the cost of a foreman to do the site work with all the extra costs we discussed. I think you'll be dumbfounded by how much you need to put your price up. And the reality, as we said, if you want to come off the tools in the future, you need to be charged this increased price today, otherwise it will never happen. You've got no choice. If you're serious about growing your business, you need to do this. And none of this, I have to say, that we've been discussing today is about ripping the customer off. It's all about what you should have been charging all the way along. And now, more than ever before, is the perfect time to make these changes in the business and move your business upwards.
Okay. As always, sound advice. So, Simon, just wanted to finish up on a plan, an action plan that firms can put in place for themselves, and again, they can kind of grab this document after. So, a few bits that I wanted to run through my observations then. So, I think you need to sit down with a notepad and jot down your understanding of your business, your customers, your marketplace, and importantly, how do your competitors work? What's their strategy? How do you think they operate? Have they got the office in the centre of town and the shiny vans, and they're doing the premium projects? What do you need to do to emulate those guys? Really importantly, discover why you're actually winning or losing jobs. There was that important point you made, Simon, earlier about the firms being chosen because they were quality and cheap. On that chat, there's that triangle that you often hear about, kind of quality, speed, and
price.
And price. And it's just those 3 things are not always, don't normally align. So I think what's happening is that you're doing a really good job, you're doing it on time and you're undercharging. I think understanding that, or it could be other things like, you walk into people's houses with muddy boots and you've never given it a second's thought because that's what you do. You don't know what's off-putting. Sometimes it's being too slick that's off-putting. Turning up in your brand new shiny private plated Range Rover might be putting someone off. Good on you if you've got one, by the way. But I'm just saying it might have the opposite effect, So learn about why you're winning or losing jobs, and Simon can certainly help you with that and point you in the right direction. Make sure then that you differentiate yourself from your competition. You might be wanting to emulate some of your premium competitors in your area, but that doesn't mean that you should be the same. You do need to differentiate yourselves, but at least then you've got pegs in the sand as to what they're actually doing to be successful, and then from there differentiate. All of this does involve having a decent website and a social media presence. I realise that is quite challenging to keep on top of. Maybe employ somebody, somebody to do that, or at least every time you're on site, take some pictures, put a quick comment up on it with your client's permission. That's the first 5. The next, I'm just looking at my second screen there. Yeah, it's all about team. It's all about having an ongoing successful team. And as Simon has said before, having a reliable team and one that doesn't keep walking off site does involve paying them a bit of a premium to keep them interested. And in order to pay them that, you have got to be charging appropriately. You have got to be calculating your job cost properly, and then adding that chunky markup on top of it. And obviously a good team is a happy team, it's probably a well-paid team. So, you need to bear that in mind. And a few topics that we've not covered today, but you can find them in other areas of the website, is making it known that you use legal contracts, that you're all above board, and that you like to get it all down on paper, and that variations to the job are documented for the benefit of the customer, but also that's absolutely to your benefit, because then you can show that that's a variation to the original estimate and quotation. Make it known that you take health and safety seriously. That does allow you to add, a premium as well to your business. If you're saying, well, actually, I do charge a little bit more, but because I take my health and safety seriously, I have all my documents, my risk assessments, etc., all nailed. we're obviously going to say this is a software company who run estimating software, but presenting accurately and detailed quotations is absolutely key. And I think Simon's been laying that out today. You've got to get that first job cost, the basic job cost nailed first, then your overheads, then your margin on top. And importantly, I guess, it's thinking about where you actually want to be and getting there. I mean, I guess that's probably top of everything. Making sure you know what you want to be doing and how, and then build scaffolding around that, and excuse the expression, and learn how to get there. Simon is absolutely the man to help you with that. So spend some time with a cuppa or a pint and ponder, where would you actually like to be in 3 years? And lots of these tips here will help you get there. And if you're running around absolutely beside yourself because it's so busy, who do you need within the business to help you? It's very easy to think, well, when I'm doing a bit better, or when it's slowed down, or whatever, when, or if, I will then get somebody in to help me. But as Simon's saying, charge as if you've got them in place now, so that you can put that in place. Really, really important stuff that you said there, Simon. So is there anything you want to say as we sign off? Any final comments?
Yeah, I think it's important to have faith in your skills. You need to convince customers that you're worthy of their hard-earned money, their life savings, and also the value you can add to their property. And more than ever, don't fall back into your comfort zone. It's not sustainable. Stay strong. Don't undersell yourself. Ensure you charge what you're worth. Go after the right kinds of jobs. Use the right software, and make every day count financially. All these things are going to make a huge difference if the marketplace tightens up in the coming year or so. Okay.
Agree. All right. So, well, thank you, Simon. And as I mentioned right at the start, as a member of Team HBXL, Simon's kindly agreed to an hour Zoom meeting. If you want to do face-to-face, now you know, Simon, builders, Simon. We've done our introductions. You can now have a session with Simon, or you can set that up over the phone, and you can discuss your business, the concerns that you have, and what you're hoping to achieve. As you can tell, Simon is kind of salt of the earth here. He's not, he's not some highfalutin business consultant. He's going to be talking to you practically about your business and where you're aimed, and he's full of really good advice. I think Simon's probably one of the only mentors to builders based in the UK, and I think this is a great opportunity to take some time to step back from the business and discuss things with him. So you can call the team on the number on screen, or you can go online to make your booking at that URL. And Simon, perhaps you could tell us very briefly before we go the types of things that you can do.
Okay, yeah, thanks for that. Well, we'll find out where you're working now, how you're working, where you are price-wise in comparison to other builders. If you want, we can survey some of the past customers to see why they truly chose you and how they rated every aspect of your staff and your business. We'll then put together an initial plan on how to improve your business, and all that's free and without obligation. If you want to have an ongoing relationship with us, the Better Business Group, we will work with you on every one of your own inquiries. We'll find out why you won or lost the job, who your competitors were, what they liked or disliked about you, how your price compared. We analyse all this, we report it back to you, and we mentor you continually to improve. So on average, you'll be able to charge a good 15 to 20% more than you are currently. You'll probably win around 13% more, one, maybe two more for jobs you're quoting out of 10. In addition, we'll give you pre-vetted good leads to quote on. They're all quality structural jobs from residential clients looking to improve their own homes. They've already applied for planning permission, so they're serious. And in the main, they've come to us because they're high-quality clients looking for a good, trustworthy, reliable builder, not a cheap one. And I mentioned at the start, the average value of lead we've given out this year is over 130,000. So don't be shy. If you think you could do with a little guidance, just give us a call. We'd really like to help you succeed. We're not pushy to get you to join or pay us anything, but I'm sure we can help you. And I'm sure proportionally you want to carry on working with us in the future. So thank you very much for listening. I hope you got some worth out of the webinar. I'm sure you will.
Thank you, Simon, so much for your time. So in a nutshell, then, even in a more difficult marketplace, you can still make some good money. It stands to reason. It's all about making yourself attractive, but to the right type of customer and paying attention to the details. Obviously, you've got to make sure you quote accurately, and shameless plug, clearly for most of you watching, you have Estimator Express already. That's going to help you cost every item using the latest materials prices. We do those monthly updates for you. Then importantly, add your overheads on correctly based on what you want your business to look like in the future, not just as it exists today. And then obviously add that decent profit margin on top. And whilst all the time coming across incredibly professional and reliable, so that you just have to win that job. It won't happen necessarily overnight, but if you put in place some of Simon's recommendations, even one or two of them, you'll be well on your way to changing your business for the better. And if you talk to Simon, then he's like the critical friend, the support. Sometimes it's a bit of a lonely job running a building company when you're doing it by yourself, battling away. He's someone to take advice from, and to get on the phone and say, right, what do I do about this job? This client's saying this, they've been a bit awkward about this, they want me to cut my price. He's there helping guide you on all of those questions. So I'm going to finish up very briefly with, if you want to visit the website, you can see other software products. So the health and safety software, Health and Safety Expert. If you want to go into design and build, you can see the Plans Express software. If you want to nail your building contracts, there's Contracts Expert, etc. So there's our phone number. If you want any software advice, if you'd like to drop us a line. And you can obviously go to the website to see all of other power hours that are on screen. I think this has not been a power hour. I think this has been probably a power hour and a half, even shy of 2 hours. But we've covered absolutely so much in this session. So thanks again. Look out for details of our next session that'll be coming soon. Thanks, Simon.
Thanks, Jo. Pleasure always.
All right. Thanks, everyone watching. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Bye. Thanks a lot.